You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Thank you for joining me today and welcome. I am Barbara Savin, your spiritual warrior coach, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. You know, I am a certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist, Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-on Healing. You know, I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and the older I get, the more wisdom seems to come through. So isn't it time that you believe in yourself? Your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use it for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. And I'm going to bring on my guest right now. She is a very, very special lady. Her name is Wendy Björk, right? Did I pronounce that right? Almost?
It's fine.
Okay. AKA the Empress of MS is the heart of wellness. And living with multiple sclerosis for over 35 years, she has developed her holistic Four Cornerstone Method to help clients regain control of their life in spite of an multiple sclerosis diagnosis. Wendy is an extreme pioneer in encouragement and mentorship. And she is a leading global revolution to change the face of multiple sclerosis. And she has authored 2 books and contributes to the National MS Society's Momentum magazine. And she is regularly invited on expert discussions, international podcasts, and interviews to share her story. So welcome, Wendy. I am so honored that you, wanted to be a guest on my show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here.
So, can you explain, when were you actually diagnosed with MS?
It wasn't until I was 22. I just finished college, started my first, real full-time job, and I think all the symptoms that I'd been having for all the years prior just kind of came to a head and came out with my first big, I guess, relapse or whatever the doctors called it at the time. But I think just the stress of life and my new job and everything I was going through, it all just came out and
full circle
really affected me.
Mm-hmm. What type of symptoms did you have?
Well, they weren't real bad initially. If I would take a hot bath, when I'd get out, I'd feel like I kind of had spaghetti legs. The heat was already affecting me, but it would, that part would go away. But then I'd have like tingling or numbness in my feet. And I mentioned it to the doctor. You go for your sports physical every year, and he didn't think anything of it. He just said maybe I was just still growing and didn't really think I needed to worry about it. So I didn't, and just kind of ignored it since the doctors were ignoring it.
Wow. So can you really explain to my listeners what multiple sclerosis is?
Well, I guess the whole illness is a mystery, but what they know for sure what happens is something inside your body, I guess, becomes triggered. So then the covering on your nerves is called myelin. So the myelin becomes damaged, then your brain can't send good signals back and forth to your extremities, your arms, your legs. Your nerves are everywhere in your body. So your brain isn't sending good signals. So then there's missed signals. And that's why, we can't walk great. We can't think great sometimes, talk great. It affects your whole body.
Your whole body. It must have been really challenging, I guess, at the age of 22. What was that the time when you actually found out that you had it, or was it later on, in your life, in years?
No, it was when I was 22 that I had an episode at work where it was like I had my words, but I couldn't get them out. And that's what sent me to the neurologist, and I was just 22. So that is a major symptom of MS is, you have clear thoughts, but your words are garbled or mixed up, or you might say, one word that makes sense and then the next word doesn't, because you're like thinking of sentences, and a normal brain that processes can sort those words quickly, but we just can't keep up with it. So that's the interesting part.
Oh, wow. So then does it begin to affect, I guess, your speaking first, or then does it go on to other areas of the body?
I think everybody's different. With me, it was my speech first. And then, even though my legs were already affected, then, another incident took away part of my vision. And that's common too, is to have part of your vision interrupted or taken away. And, that's really, really scary. Not being able to talk is one thing, but not being able to see, that's
scary.
Scary.
Yeah, I cannot imagine how frightening that would be, to open your eyes and not see. I mean, that's a blessing that we have, to be able to breathe, get out of bed, open our eyes, do things for ourselves. So,
right.
And I know I have some clients actually with MS, and from when I first met them, maybe 8-9 years ago, when it was just some of the symptoms, and then you watch it progressively get worse. And it's heartbreaking to see some of them that can't walk anymore. They're in a wheelchair, or they're just having challenges, complete challenges, being able to do anything, at this stage for themselves. So I guess my question would be, someone with MS like yourself, can you actually live a somewhat normal life?
I think that's entirely possible. And I think a lot of it has to do with mindset. Back when I was 22, I really just ignored it and probably was in denial, because I just wanted to live like a 22-year-old, because the rest of my friends were living their best life. And I think I was lucky, because my boss at that first job was into personal development, and he would send me to seminars. I went to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That was my first one, and Brian Tracy, and all these people that, and I still have never asked him after all these years if he did it, to help me, just be a better employee, or was he helping me get the tools to, live with this life-limiting illness. But I still, to this day, infuse what I've learned in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, into what I do with my clients, because there's so much that we can do with our mind. What we think about, we bring about. So we have a good mindset, and you have to think positive and visualize healing. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think it has a lot to do with, how I've navigated it.
So now you were still able to get married and have children.
Yes. And nobody really told me not to have kids, but and I'm not going to lie, it was a challenge, but I wanted to have kids. And once I had one, I saw he needed a sibling. So then I had another one 2 years later. So it was busy and stressful, and, trying to work full time and then get home and cook and do all the things around the house. And that's why people just have to learn to ask for help. It's not letting people think you're weak. You just need help, no matter what it is. If you need, like a support circle or help picking up groceries, it's just every little bit helps.
Yeah, well, us females think we're like super women, and when we're not, because we can break down, and when we break down, it can be really devastating.
Yes.
And so self-care, and it's okay to ask for help. That doesn't mean that you're weak or anything. Everybody needs help.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
and that's how I look at it. And it's not, doesn't make you, not capable of doing it. It's just there's a lot on our plates.
Right. There's a lot expected of us.
Mm-hmm. So now, you had children. Now, are your children fine? Is there a test, to see whether or not the children are fine?
I've participated in different studies where they're trying to detect which gene it is that triggers this, but so far, they're fine. And I think there still has to be a genetic link somewhere, because my grandmother had a horrible case of rheumatoid arthritis and maybe even an undiagnosed case of MS, because she was just stuck in a chair all day. That's all I remember growing up, is she didn't really walk. She didn't really do anything. She just sat in her chair and watched everything go by. So I think there's still something.
And
connected.
what about, your mom and your dad? Were they fine?
Yeah, they're fine too.
You're fine too. So it could skip generations and then, come out somewhere else. Well, we'll pray to God that the children do not have it in any way. So we'll send them lots of healing light. So
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what is actually, I want to ask you, what are some of the things that actually help you, with dealing with this, for such a long time?
I think the longer I've had it, the more I learn. And I think with anything, our problems become our teachers. And it's just made me want to dive into, what causes inflammation in our body. And it's not just food or your circle of five, I call it, the people around you. That's all needs to be paid attention to. But it comes down to, what you're using for your laundry, what you're using to clean your house with, the candles. There's just so many things that we're exposed to that could all escalate symptoms, and they might be fine for people that don't have MS to a point, but, like, there's just so many things. And just knowing how to breathe and knowing how to meditate, and not that you have to do it for long periods of time, but, just step outside and look around you and just, do a quick reset. It's just knowing how to listen to your body and
we
do
have
what
well, yeah, we have to do it. And sometimes if we feel certain aches and we're afraid to go to the doctor, the thing is to get a diagnosis quickly before something gets out of control. And I think a lot of people are very fearful of hearing bad news. I mean, I would be fearful too. So, I've had my own stuff too. So, but yeah, I think they're more afraid to hear what they actually may not even hear, than taking care of themselves.
Yeah, it's hard to hear any sort of diagnosis because, like you said, no one wants to hear bad news. But, until you know what you're dealing with, you can't deal with it.
Well, that's it. I know for myself, I was complaining that my throat was a little hoarse. And so I went to a doctor and he did an ultrasound. They found some nodules on my throat. And he suggested biopsies, needle biopsy. And of course I was like, the first thing, my heart was like pounding like this. I did not know what to think, because the first thing that comes to your mind is usually something bad. And I said to myself, no, we need to not worry about it. Number one, because to worry about it, you may be worrying about something that isn't even there, and you're putting all that energy into that worry. And then I said, you need to do it so that whatever the situation is, you have to accept it and deal with it. And so I did go. Actually, I went twice for a biopsy, and knock on wood, everything is good. So, but I have to go back every 6 months, and I know now, because I need to take care of me, that this is what I have to do, and not be afraid of it. It could change. I pray it doesn't. So, the thing is to stay on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And to view it as something that you're going to be okay. It's not something that's, an awful situation.
Oh yeah. When I, lie in bed, I hold this area, and I ask God, my angels, because I am an energy healer, to send healing light, to the area, and that I'm not thinking negative about it, and that whatever the journey of this may be, it's for me to accept it, because I can't change it.
Right.
So that's the key.
Mm-hmm. Yes, acceptance is the key, and just being open to things that, there's so many small steps people can take with anything to help themselves.
Oh, I know. So, being that I know, like for myself, I found it important to talk about it. So, I guess you probably feel the same way, that it's so important to talk about, this type of illness.
It is. And I guest hosted an MS chat on Monday night. And one of the questions, it was towards the end, I asked was, do you have a support circle of friends that you can talk to about this? And I'm still going back through the answers, because there's hundreds of people that said no. And that's just heartbreaking.
Wow. See, and then they feel they're in this by themselves, when in actuality, they're not.
Right. Yeah. And so many people are just so quick to judge, and say, well, it's not that bad. You could have something worse. Just suck it up. And that's just terrible. It's just not nice.
No, because, if it was them, it'd be a different story. You have to jump into somebody's shoes in order to truly understand. And we need to have compassion, and understanding, because, people do go through a lot of different situations that it's, heartbreaking and extremely challenging. I know for myself, I had a hip replacement about 3.5 years ago. And now, I had to use a wheelchair, a walker, and all this other stuff. And don't get me wrong, as a healer, I help everyone, and I have a lot of empathy for everybody. But it made me understand, just seeing a person with a cane, how they're feeling. And it brought a whole different, light into it. And I'm not saying people have to get, MS or things like that, but I think what we're lacking is compassion.
Yeah, I agree. And I was at my son's high school graduation this spring, and I was walking on the grass, and that's not my favorite terrain. And I kind of did a double step, and a man that I have no idea who he is, he turned to me and said, "Are you going to make it?" So I'm sure he thought I'd been drinking all day. And I just laughed and kept going. And I thought, in the past, that would have really bothered me, but now you're just a jerk. So
exactly, because they don't know your situation, and again, people judge, and I always look at someone that looks, with a judgment, shame on them, because you don't know what that person is going through. And maybe it was the opposite way. Would you still be judging? No, you would want that person to show you compassion and understanding. So yeah, isn't that it? It's sad. I want to say
it is.
It's yeah.
And I think just bringing more awareness around not just MS, but all illnesses. It's not anything anybody chooses, and people just need to be more compassionate, like you said.
Yeah. So, how have you, helped yourself over the years? What have you done? Because you look fine. So, I'm curious, if you do holistic, if you take supplements, or, what exactly are you doing to keep yourself as healthy as you can?
I think maybe it's just going back a little, but when you do have the damage to your myelin, that isn't ever going to get like repaired. There's no science behind that yet. So it's just basically accepting it going forward, and then seeing what you can do to maybe prevent future relapses.
Okay.
And it was a few years ago, I just started going through like everything I was doing, basically a lifestyle reset. I went through my laundry room, was the first place I started, because I read what you were laying on all night, your sheets, your pillow, is under your head, and whatever chemicals are there, you're just absorbing that. So that's where I started with, making sure everything was clean, those products were clean, and didn't have any harmful ingredients in it that were going to interfere with my system. So that was a huge step. And I've had migraine headaches since I was 13. And so much of what we surround ourselves with causes these kind of problems. Our body doesn't know what to do with all these chemicals that we're inundated with. And like I said before, it might be fine for someone without MS or another chronic illness, but there's a tipping point when toxic burden gets overloaded. So that was the first place I started. And then next I went to the food. I cut out sugar as much as I could, and then dairy and gluten, and just try to eliminate anything that's going to cause inflammation. And I know usually food is somewhere that's really a sticking point, and that's why it's important to have somebody walking with you as a coach, just so you can stick with it and not give in and then feel terrible or have your symptoms worsen. So between, keeping a good mindset and always, I'm always reading personal development books, from all sorts of different angles. And of course we have our angels and our guides, and just having all these tools, to surround ourselves with. Just always being able and opening to learning more.
So you feel like toxins. I know I use everything that's unscented, and I try to buy as much organic as I can, because I'm very sensitive to smell and to the chemicals. And I know for myself, sometimes my head feels like a little weird when I'm near a lot of, chemicals. And so, yeah, I know toxins are huge. And because it may say natural, that doesn't mean that it's natural, I want to say.
Yes. And I think that's probably one of the most overlooked areas, because there's no regulation on it. They could put whatever they want on a label, and you just have to really know how to decipher it. And that's something that I help people learn.
And I know, like for myself, not just, washing the clothes, but, moisturizer, shampoo, makeup, all the things that we just like take for granted can actually make us sick.
Yes. I think in the US, there's been like 10 cosmetic ingredients banned for every 1,000 that's been banned in Europe. And it's just unbelievable that it's allowed to be used and sold.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it's all about the money and the greed,
Right.
not about, our health, which is bad. And you even wonder with some of the organics, because, if the organic fields are next to a regular field, and those regular fields are sprayed with chemicals, and here comes the wind, coming over to the organic, are we actually getting organic food? I mean, that's another thing that I for the life of me, I cannot understand why they use these chemicals. Yeah, and
No.
it's making not just us, but our kids, our children's very sick.
Yes, it is. And it's just, the insecticides, the fungicides, the herbicides, and the pesticides. And like you said, the overspray and just the amount that's sprayed is just unreal. And if you don't buy organic, you're getting a huge dose of that. And your body has no idea what to do with it or how to process it.
Well,
It
that's
just
it.
gets stored.
And even, in how we clean, our homes, that's another thing. So, for myself, I use just organic products because again, and they have to be unscented. Otherwise the smell, makes me a little weird. But a lot of people don't understand it. It's everything that we need. I mean, unfortunately, we're not able to really control everything, but I think I feel in my heart we can control a good percentage of it, especially in our homes.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we're the gatekeeper of our house. We control what comes in. And, and people are using the dryer sheets. You walk down the sidewalk and you know exactly who's using them because you can smell it coming out of the vent. And that's just like having 20 or 30 cars just sitting and idling in a parking lot. That's how much the toxin fumes are, and it's getting the bees and the birds, the butterflies, and it's just not necessary. I mean, just get some organic wool dryer balls and use those instead. If people started doing that, I mean, that would be a huge difference. And it's just one little thing.
Well, the thing is, to do one baby step and then go on to the next one. And that's what I did it. I knew I couldn't do everything at the same time. So I just did it what I felt was the most important, and to me, sleeping with the clothes and things like that. We did that first. And then of course, then we started with organics and vitamins, and the same with the vitamins and minerals. I only buy organic because if you look at some of the ingredients and some of the other ones, there's nothing in them but chemicals. And people don't understand that.
I know. And, not even talking about where it's been sitting for 3 years. It has to be fresh. It has to be, just made and then shipped to you. It's not something that can be sitting in a hot 200-degree warehouse for 3 years. I mean, that's just really harming whatever's inside there.
Yeah. And people don't understand that because they figure, oh, it's being shipped. I mean, I'm not going to mention the store, but I was waiting for my husband come out of the store, and here's the worker opening one of these storage places outside. And mind you, at this day, it was like over 90 degrees here in California. And he opens it, and what does he take out? Water. Plastic bottles of water. And I said to myself, I was so tempted to take a video, but I didn't. And I don't know why I didn't. And I'm a little upset at myself for not doing it and putting it out there. But water, and it was sitting in this 90, and who knows how long it was out there, sitting in this locked, metal storage place. Water. And I says, what else was in there that we have no idea that they're storing, in these things, besides the plastic not being good for us.
Yeah, we just really need to take a hard look at everything. And you can't, like you said, do it all at once. It has to be a little bit at a time, or else you'll just be overwhelmed and not do anything. So I agree, baby steps are better.
Oh yeah. What type of water, I'm curious, do you drink? Because I know, we have filters in our home.
Yes, we have a filter too.
Yeah. And hopefully it takes out as much as it can.
Yes.
Because actually, when I take a shower, sometimes you can actually smell the chlorine that's in the water.
Yes. I have one in the shower too.
Right. And well, we have to do that because I here it's actually getting more so than what it was a few years ago. So I know they're putting in a lot more chemicals in our water here, well, I live in California, but yeah, it challenges. How are you feeling now? So how many years have you had this, and how you feeling?
Well, if you go back to when I first started having symptoms, it's about 35 years.
Oh,
So we won't do the math, but I'm 52.
oh, okay. Yeah. All right. And evidently you have this, I would say, somewhat under control.
I feel like I do. And I feel like just listening to my body, if I know I'm going to be doing something where I need to be physically, walking a distance, which I don't walk very far, but, if I'm going to one of my kids' sporting events, I know I can't do anything that whole day until it's time to leave. I just know that I'm going to be putting out enough energy once I get there that I don't want to wilt and, fall apart in front of the crowd. So
Yeah.
it's just really about listening to yourself.
Well, that's it. And if you need to rest, then you need to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that this is what's best for you. Now, I've been looking at your website, and I understand that you have a program that actually helps other, I would assume, just women or men, help navigate through this incurable, illness. Can you tell my listeners a little more about this?
Yeah. And right now I'm just working with women,
Okay.
and it's actually a day-long VIP wellness experience. So they get to become their own empress, bring out their inner empress. And we work through the four cornerstones, of which I know there's so many aspects to healing, but I just, chose the ones that I thought most importantly helped me, which is your mindset, your body, like what you're putting in it, on it, and the relationship aspect, making sure they have a support circle. And then the last one is the environment of what you're bringing in your home, what you're using, what you're surrounding yourself with. And just spending the day going through those 4 areas just to get them a reset and give them the tools to feel like they're empowered enough to take control of this and be in the driver's seat again. And I actually provide lunch so that they don't have to worry about that. So we figure out what's their best lunch option, have that delivered, and then I send them a secret surprise box ahead of time just to give them some joy before we get started.
Yeah, they do need joy, don't they? And loving themselves and accepting.
Yes.
And now, is there a reason why you don't do, you don't help men, or is it that not? I don't know any man actually that has MS. I know more women.
I think with the statistic I saw, I think it was 3 times more women than men have MS. And I think being a woman, I just can relate better maybe and know more of the issues that nobody talks about. There's so many, like I said before, there's so many things that get affected, just it's head to toe that things just don't work right.
What's the whole body, mind, spirit? So yeah. And if we start breaking down, spiritually and mentally and emotionally, last to go is the physical body. And then it's challenging to actually heal the physical body, because then you have to heal mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And of course, you have the financial aspect of having this illness, and the environment, and your caregivers and your family. I would assume that your family goes through a lot, taking care of someone that has multiple sclerosis.
And I think, depending on if you have it goes back to the relationship aspect, a lot of women don't have a supportive partner or spouse. And I wrote an article on it probably 2-3 months ago, that they think they're just baking or they're lazy or just, choose not to do something when in fact they're just exhausted. And it's just helping people deal with this. There's so many ways that I can help people, and just know how to recognize when someone else is dealing with something. They're reflecting it back onto you usually with their comments or actions.
Do you think in some relationships there's no compassion?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they think that they're just lazy or whatever the case may be, but it's not. It's because they're hurting.
Yes.
I know, for myself with the hip, I think I suffered for about 3-4 years. I couldn't bend down. I couldn't do certain things. And, thank you, God, that I have a spouse. We're married 52 years, that, understood that I'm in pain. No matter what I took for it, there was true pain there. And so he was very compassionate and helping and understanding. And he did the shopping, and he would, clean. He wouldn't clean the way I wouldn't clean, but I was just grateful that he would vacuum and do some, the tubs and things like that. And, but I do see, women with certain challenges that they have no help.
Yes.
No help. So you think that that's something that they truly need to understand is not to be ashamed or embarrassed to ask for help?
Yes, because if you let it be embarrassing, it can be embarrassing, but you have to just rise above that and
set boundaries.
Yes.
And
know how
to and have your children help too.
Right. And hopefully when you do have children, that they're a whole generation of empathetic people. If we have kids that see us needing help, that they're quick to help someone else, when they're on their own.
Yeah, because that's so important that we raise them in a way to help others, because it's not just about us. It's about, showing compassion and understanding, and even if you see somebody struggling, that you need to open the door, that in itself is kindness.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of things are lacking, you could say, today.
Very much so.
Is that. And not to be embarrassed, if you see somebody in a wheelchair, not to feel that they may be embarrassed because you're going over to them and asking them, do you need a helping hand? Do you need some help? I do that all the time, no matter what. And I do it only because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. Is because I know that person, in some way is struggling.
Right.
So can you give my listeners like maybe one tip on I know you mentioned to release the toxins, the food, the sugar. Do you think alcohol and other medications play in all this also, that they should eliminate that?
Yeah. And it's hard not to just grab the bottle of Tylenol or ibuprofen but those all have to get processed by your system and your liver, and it's not natural. Your body, like I said before, there's other things, but your body just doesn't know what to do with it. So it either gets stored there or it's just bounced around, and then it causes other problems like hormonal problems or weight gain, or we just don't know what's going on inside our body. So it's just so important to really watch what you put in it. And like alcohol, yes, it's nice to have a glass of wine now and then, but we should really try to avoid it.
Yeah. And I have one of my clients, I've seen her really decline because at night she'd drink a few glasses of alcohol, and I would beg her all the time, you really need to stop. And it was red wine, which is a lot of sugar, and I would say, it's the inflammation, everything in the body. You have to stop. But again, some people do it because they are suffering, and it takes away maybe some of the pain, I would imagine.
And maybe just mentally it does take away some of the pain,
Mm-hmm.
and having to deal with it for that time period. But, there's so many other ways that we can help them do that instead of turning to alcohol.
Well, and I know that because I in my younger years, because I just turned 73 and I want to be healthy. So I do not drink or smoke. And I haven't done that for, I probably about 30 or 35 years. But in my younger years, I would every now and then have, 1 or 2 glasses. And then I would say to myself, gee, I really don't like the way I feel. And then you could feel the difference in your energy, felt heavy, versus when you actually don't drink. I'm not telling people not to drink because, some, occasionally do, but I know for myself, it gets me a little crazy making. It does something to my head. and then not only am I tipsy, but I know some people get angry, they get like overly happy. It just depends. But I could see why, having, and especially inflammation and stuff, to stay away from that. And the sugar.
And then it's just one of the aspects, of it all.
So basically, what they, if you don't mind me asking, what do you eat? I'm sure you probably just drink water, but what type of foods do you actually, seek out for yourself?
I eat a lot of salads, and if we go out to eat, I just forego the bread. Just ask for some extra lettuce or whatever if it's a sandwich. I eat a lot of greens. Every morning I have a smoothie, and I'll chop up a stalk of celery, organic, of course, because I don't want to eat what else they've sprayed on it. And just some blueberries, just a few bits of fruit and maybe some avocado in there, and just things to maybe get rid of some antioxidants and just get you going for the day. And I think starting the morning with a warm glass of lemon water, little organic piece of lemon, just that really wakes your system up too, just to start your day out right.
To boost the metabolism. So yeah, because I know I make a collagen drink every day, and I put greens, in it, and I also, put some extra vitamin C, some zinc, some acidophilus, some other things to keep internally my body healthy. And I also put some blueberries, and once in a while I'll put a banana or whatever else, fruit. And I noticed, like for myself, it actually, I'm not hungry for quite many hours, and I have energy. And it's
so that's a bonus.
Boy, that's a big bonus. Yeah, and I'm good. I'm good to go. And I say, all right, we're good. And and I also I'll have like organic oatmeal in the morning, or I think it's stone wheat. I don't remember what exactly it is, but healthy fiber, because that's important too, I feel.
Yes. We need about 30 grams of fiber a day as women.
And it helps everything, moving correctly inside. Hopefully. Yeah, well, it does. But do you I'm curious, do you take vitamin D?
I do. I take the vitamin, I take a tablet, and then I also just found a company that actually has a spray. So it's like a vitamin spray, so that if I'm going anywhere, I just toss that in my purse, and I don't have to worry about traveling with pills.
Yeah, because I know vitamin D helps us a lot.
Yes.
And it actually heals the body inside. And there's a lot of studies on vitamin D. So I've actually upped my vitamin D daily too, because even though it's nice to get out in the sun, But then again, you have all the chemtrails that they're spraying and everything else. And then, I saw one of my neighbors, they had a pesticide company, and he was spraying, and I walked out and I said to him, what are you spraying? He's, oh, I'm, spraying because there's spiders. All right, but are you spraying organic? And it wasn't. And I said to him, you should put a sign on there, because you have dogs that walk on that lawn, and that can kill the dog, can kill the
Yes.
pet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think people just have to be more aware of not just what's being sprayed by their home, but outside, neighbors' homes.
Yes.
And so, and then
It's-
yeah, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, there's so much that gets absorbed through their paws, whether you're inside or outside.
Oh yeah, it's really sad for these animals, because they don't know, but yeah, but I see now that he actually he puts a sign that it's not organic, and he's still using that, but at least he's putting a sign.
Mhm.
But there's not much I can do, other than not walk on that side of the street. I mean, that's all that it is, really. But
Mhm.
so now, so what type of, well, you mentioned that you have like a whole day program. Do you do besides that other types of programs for people that, with MS?
So besides the full day, if
Mhm.
they want to do like a deeper dive, then I'll work with them just one-to-one, for 4 months or however long it takes to get everything lined up for them and how they want their life to look. So
Mhm. Yeah, and the most important thing is for them to feel better and healthy,
yes,
and not look at it as a death sentence in any way,
right.
and not be a
Mhm.
victim of the illness.
Yes. You have
And
to see it as a separate entity.
exactly, and then to send love and light and healing to it, because that's what we need to do for
Mhm.
ourselves. But so where can my listeners actually, look for your programs and get in touch with you?
Sure. It's just my website is just heartsofwellness.com. And then they can book a quick 20-minute call with me to see if they have, if they have other questions or want more information. And that website is just my name. So it's just wendybjork.com.
Okay, and I just noticed behind you, Hearts of
Yeah.
Wellness. Okay, and I've been looking at you now for about 40 minutes. That's a beautiful logo.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautiful. Wow. So yeah, okay, heartsofwellness.com. So people need to seek you out, and have anyone with MS, or if anyone knows anyone with MS. I know my neighbor was waiting for my interview today to find out more about you. So she may be calling you and find out more about how to deal with this illness, and to live as much as we can, a healthy and joyful and happy life.
Yes. And I've written a couple of books, they're ebooks that are on my website too. So you can find those readily and easily and just click on it to download.
Oh, great. So they just go to the heartsofwellness.com, and you have the ebooks and articles there.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So it's heartsofwellness.com. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Heartsofwellness.com. Go there, download Wendy's ebooks, articles, and learn more about this, and have her help you if you are one or know someone with MS, because it can, I feel, could be controlled. I mean, I'm looking at you, and, I'm saying, wow, thank you, God, that you look fine. So I know, and you've had it for 35 years. So we can control it to an extent. But
I think
again,
you can.
thank you so much for being a guest today. And again, it's heartsofwellness.com. Look it up and find some information for someone that you know, a loved one. Okay. Wendy, thank you so much for today.
Well,
And
thank you for having me, Barbara. I
um,
appreciate it. It's been
my
wonderful.
Same here, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. All right. So just thank you for listening. And again, a very big thank you, to Wendy for sharing her story and wisdom. And I hope that you heard what you needed to hear. And again, thank you. And visit, Wendy at heartsofwellness.com and visit me at motivateyourlife.net. And please subscribe to my YouTube channels. I have one called Barbara Savin, which has meditations and grounding and sleep and some other, wonderful MP3s for you to download. And please subscribe and like the Spiritual Warrior Coach YouTube channel. And we have many incredible guests, just such as Wendy, on there for you to listen and to learn. So also for some of you that may be interested in learning energy healing, check out my book, Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-On Healing, on Amazon. So I'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you so much for listening today, and have a beautiful day filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.
Please visit motivateyourlife.net or email me at barbarae7@aol.com. Visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel Barbara Savin and the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. My guest today was Wendy Björk. For more information about Wendy, please visit her website at heartsofwellness.com. Thank you for listening today and have a beautiful week filled with love and light. Love, Barbara.